you pour into the people who you are in care for, they pour into the business. That's really the simplicity behind it, is you take care of people, they take care of the business. Otherwise, you pay for it in retention and turnover, and you pay for it in missed opportunities, you pay for it in mediocre work, you pay for it in underperformance, you pay for it from lack of innovation. So the more you pour into the people that work for you,
Welcome to the Leader's Mindset, where we bring you conversations with leaders who are making an impact in business and our communities. Today, I'm here with Michelle Edwards. She's an award-winning leadership advisor, speaker, and the author of DEI Died, Leadership Lives. She's going to talk to us today about how she built one of the most diverse and also most awarded and highest retention workplace cultures in healthcare. So thanks for joining us today, Michelle. Hey, a quick interruption before we jump into the questions. It's something I want to talk about that I use every single day. You've heard me talk about how noisy the news has gotten. Inform.now is how I fix that for myself. It texts me the day's facts every morning, no bias, no clickbait, no ads. I liked it enough to partner with them. So full transparency, I earned a small referral if you upgrade. But if you want the news without the noise, it's at inform.co/JLD. That's infmd.co/JLD. Okay, back to the interview. DEI is a controversial topic right now. And I think your book kind of sheds some light on why it doesn't need to be and where we should really focus. But let's start with the title of the book. DEI Died, Leadership Lives. What does that mean, and what's the premise of the book?
it sounds like a provocative title, but it's really clarity. So DEI, as you mentioned, is a very controversial topic. So I think that the title reflects where we are today. Like DEI was, I feel like, gravely misunderstood by opposers and supporters alike. And as a result, it has been dismantled. And that's okay, because leadership has always been the work. And that's the part of the title that I want us to pay attention to. Leadership lives. And I feel like, as you mentioned earlier, I built the most diverse agency in healthcare, and I didn't do that by chasing DEI. I didn't do that with DEI programs. I did that by building leaders who lead well, who take care of their people, who develop their people, who get the best out of their people. And as a result, our diversity progress kind of happened organically. It was an outcome of good leadership. So that's why I say leadership lives, and leadership has always been the work.
Yeah, and that was always what puzzled me about why there was such controversy about DEI. And you talked about how it's kind of, there's misconceptions and misrepresentations kind of from all sides on it. And I understood that, but I spent 20 years in the Air Force, and I looked at a lot of what was being promoted about DEI in terms of how are we trying to do things and what are we trying to achieve. And I said to myself, a lot of this is what we strove to do in developing our future leaders in the Air Force every day 20 years ago when I was in. It wasn't new to me. It just had a new wrapper around it. Right. So that was always puzzling to me. And so, especially about the equity piece, what are some of the common misconceptions about equity, and what's the reality that we should focus on?
Yeah, so I think equity is probably the piece that gets the most scrutiny in DEI. Some people believe equity is taking away from one to give to another, or people think it's lowering standards, lowering the bar, right? Just putting people in places that they're not qualified to be in, or giving them something they haven't earned, or, something reverse discrimination, or making white people feel bad, or something like that. And that is not what it is. It is simply the belief and the understanding that people are different. They want different things in their career. They have different motivations. They're in different places in their life. And in order to truly take care of the person and help them realize their ambitions, you have to understand where they are and meet them where they are. So equity is simply giving people what they need to succeed. That's it.
Yeah, because I've heard all of the things you said at the top of that, right? Of what the misconceptions were. I've heard all of those, and I think your explanation kind of clears it up for me, and I hope it clears it up for a lot of people. Is that we're still talking about the same standards,
Yes.
whether those are performance standards, whether those
Yes.
behavior standards, whether those are cultural standards. We're talking about the same standards for everyone, but we are
Yes.
recognizing that human beings are individuals, and that they're all not going to perform like robots.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
So there's so much great information in the book. Before we dive into that, on how to accomplish what we've talked about here, is this idea of same standards, but recognizing people, meeting them where they are.
Right.
Let's talk about why this is a good thing. Let's talk about the business case for equity, because I can hear the audience already kind of going, well, why should I do this? What's in it? What's in it for me as a senior leader, especially if I'm getting paid partially in stock options, and part of my compensation is based on the performance of the company's stock. So, what's the business case? Why is this beneficial to companies and organizations, and not just to individuals?
I think that I put a lot of stats in the book, a lot of like data in the book for people who need a reason why, people who need a business case. There's been study after study that says more diverse teams perform better, are more innovative. Like there's been a lot of studies around that. And that's like not diversity just for the sake of diversity, just putting bodies in a position. It's diverse teams who are led well, who are developed, who are supported. You pour into the people who you are in care for, they pour into the business. That's really the simplicity behind it, is you take care of people, they take care of the business. Otherwise, you pay for it in retention and turnover, and you pay for it in missed opportunities, you pay for it in mediocre work, you pay for it in underperformance, you pay for it from lack of innovation. So the more you pour into the people that work for you, and you make sure that every single person in your organization has the opportunity to succeed and flourish. And I'm not suggesting that everyone will, because if you hold the bar and you hold the standard high, not everyone's going to clear it. And that's okay. But if you pour into the people, they will pour into the business. Their capabilities are limitless the more you pour into them.
Yeah, I mean, there's great data in the book. There's great study results in the book. A lot of us have seen the studies. Innovation goes up when you do pour into people. Now, that's a little hard to project if you're a CFO, right? But you can go. There are, a lot of these things are hard to project, but you can go do the analysis of why are we not getting innovation out of these shops? Why has nothing changed? Why have we been flat on our production? Why are we not seeing employees taking initiative to fix things, right? These are all things we can go see in hindsight. And there are a number of factors that can contribute to that. But as you said, when we pour into people, they want to give a little bit more, right? They see meaning in what they're doing. And when we don't at least provide them with that meaning, then we start to see people kind of clock in and clock out and do what they're asked to do, no more, no less, right?
Right. Exactly. You cannot expect people to, do their best and be their best if they are spending time navigating politics or code switching and not truly coming as themselves. You're not going to get the best out of them. But if you figure out how to unlock that potential, you'll see how great people can really be and how they can step up. I have people working till 2 a.m. and not complaining. I have people doing their best work and thanking me because they were only able to do their best work because they were able to truly be themselves in our workplace.
Yeah, and the real clear signal, the one that's so expensive, so costly to companies, is the retention issue. You come
Mhm.
from a background in HR. Anyone who comes from a background in HR or is a CFO knows how expensive having to hire new people versus keeping people really is.
Yes, yes. And because our partner's so close with finance, they get it. They get it. They see it in the retention numbers.
Yeah, and I think we've had a conversation before on this. I think this is really, if you're an advocate for this kind of leadership, the best thing you can do is learn the language that the CFOs speak, the finance language of your
Mhm.
company,
Mhm.
and go have that conversation with the people who are doing the financial analysis and say, we can do this better.
Yeah.
Because in every meeting, the CEO, whenever there's a new initiative or whenever there's a discussion about, hey, maybe we need to change some things, the CEO always silently looks over at the CFO, and the
Right.
CFO either does this or does this, right? They
Right.
don't even need to talk. They just do that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's how these decisions really get made, right?
Right. Right. And that's exactly what happened in our organization. We always look to the CFO, and I've always had the CFO in on my side, in my corner, because they saw the numbers increase when we were able to reduce turnover.
Yep. Go make friends with the CFO and learn to speak that language. It's the
Yep.
best advice anyone can ever learn in business. So a theme that recurs in the book is that quick fixes and easy answers don't work. And we all know this. We do.
Hmm. Right.
But why are leaders so tempted to jump to those easy answers like forming a committee or a panel or something? And how do we do it better?
I think it is easier to make leaders feel like they have done something, they've accomplished something, they've been productive if they can just do a thing really quickly. Do an initiative, a program, or do a training. And I think that is just because, human nature goes for the easier thing, the less um, thing that makes you challenge yourself. Because it takes a lot of courage to look inward. It takes a lot of courage to have hard conversations, to say the thing that no one wants to say, to address the thing that you may go up against some conflict or pushback. So I think it's easier just to do something that's quick rather than taking the time that it takes to build trust, because building trust takes a long time. um, Looking inward and changing your own behavior takes courage and takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and not just for the kind of change we're talking about here, but for anything in your organization. Is
Hmm.
recognize it's real easy to get that dopamine hit of I did something, check,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's real easy to get that dopamine hit, but that's not necessarily thinking strategically, which we always like to encourage people to do here. Is think more strategically. What's it going to look like in a year if we do this?
Hmm.
Right, versus what's the quick step I can take today.
Right.
And honestly, sometimes you do need to take a quick step. Sometimes it's an urgent situation, say we got to do something today,
Hmm.
and then let's talk tomorrow about what we're going to do tomorrow and beyond, right?
Right. Yeah. It's just sticking with it and evolving your strategy over time, seeing what's working, what's not working, and sticking with it.
That's fantastic. All right, so many great things in the book. Here's one I think we need to talk about here on this podcast, because I want everyone to go read the book, but if for whatever reason you don't read the book, I want everyone to understand what this is. What is the scalability lie?
Oh, so yes, that's what I called it when people were making excuses pretty much of, I can't do this work because I don't have the type of culture that you had, or I don't have the leadership team you had, or my company is way bigger than yours. It's more complex. It has more levels, more this, more that. So I can't do it. And I felt like it was just excuses because if you've already said you can't do it before even trying, then you've already lost. So I say that if you can scale, like toxicity scales, right? The politics scales, bad leadership scales. So if if things that you're not intentional about is scaling, you can be intentional about what scales. You can make sure that empathy scales, that leading with heart scales, that developing all people scales, not letting people fall through the cracks scales. And the way you do that is through your leaders, your C-suite, your top people have to model the way. They have to talk about it. They have to behave a certain way. They have to model the way. And then they have to, bring it down through their organization, through their managers. And when I say managers, I'm talking team leads, department heads, supervisors, whoever has another person in their care, they are responsible for carrying the message through. And that's any message, whether we're talking diversity or if we're talking retention or culture or performance, whatever it is that your company is looking to achieve is going to be lived out through every single manager within the organization. And what I find interesting is that people are not investing in their managers. It needs to be more of people investing in their managers and helping them to live out whatever goals that the company has, because that is the key to all success. So, and then data tells us how we're doing. If you're looking at data in the right way, if you're looking at, like, I'm a talent professional, HR background, so I'm always looking at people data. That tells us the story if we're willing to look hard enough into the data. It tells us who's being left behind. It tells us where our disparities are. It tells us where we can focus, what if our work is actually needs to evolve or we need to change course. Like, data will tell you the story. So I think it's those three things that help scale, no matter if your company is 300 people or if it's 3,000 people.
Yeah, or if it's 30, right? We as leaders sometimes, we get focused on other stuff, but we kind of assume, well, I said for everyone to go do it. They're obviously going to go do it. But as you're saying, you have to have that curiosity of, is it landing all the way at the front line? And how do I know? Right? How do you know is always an important question to ask. And then what's the data telling me, right? And if the data is telling me it's not landing at the front line, then I need to do something about that, because it's not going to fix itself.
Right.
Great. Well, we've talked about what the problem is. We've talked about the benefits of doing this. We've talked about where some of the hangups are. You've put all this into a framework, which is really awesome. It's called the GAS strategy. There's 4 pillars. Tell us all about that.
Yes. So the GAS strategy means give a shit. Every time I say it, people laugh. And of course, everyone thinks they give a shit about their people and their company. The GAS strategy is going a little bit deeper. The GAS strategy at its core is this relentless pursuit to making sure every single person in your organization is cared for and put on a path to success. Like I said earlier, not everyone's going to clear the bar, but the relentless pursuit. You have to keep trying to make sure people do not fall through the cracks. And the 4 pillars are, the first one is go deeper. That is, see people. If you want to see them succeed, you must first see them. And that means getting beneath the superficial levels of engagement with people and truly understanding who they are. The second pillar is take a stand. That means protect people. So sometimes you have to stand up for people. You have to advocate for them. You have to be the voice they don't have. You have to say the thing in a meeting. And that means you're taking a stand. And that's a very courageous thing you have to do. The third one is lead with love. People wonder what love has to do with it in the workplace. Pretty much everything. That's care for people. That is loving, making a positive impact on people's lives and on the business alike. That is loving what you do, loving being a leader. And the last one is self-efficacy. Self-efficacy, I say, is be the one. I end my book with be the one, and that is being the person that no matter where you sit in your organization on the org chart, whatever your title is, whatever your level is, whatever your department is, the belief that you can make a difference in someone else's career and life, and also the business. And so those are the pillars.
Yeah, and they're great. And the book goes into a lot of detail on all of them. I want to go a little deeper into going deeper. You gave us a really great definition, told us what it means, but it's challenging for everyone. It's challenging for leaders because I think a lot of leaders think they already go deeper. So, what do you think is keeping people working on a surface level, and how can they go deeper on this?
I think people tend to ask people how they're doing, and people tend to say fine, and they move on. I think people judge behaviors instead of understanding the root cause behind the behavior. Someone's disengaged, someone missed a mark on a project, so they're labeled. They're labeled as disengaged or lazy or not capable. But oftentimes, behavior is just information. It's rarely the whole story. When you really try to find out the story behind someone's behavior, are they burnt out? Are they dealing with something at home outside of the work? Is there some barrier? Is there like a neurodiversity situation happening? Like, is there some sort of barrier that is stopping them from doing a thing? And the more you really have those deeper conversations with people, the more you can uncover what's really happening. A lot of people just walk into the workplace with imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome could really stop you from being your best self in the workplace. So going deeper means we are eradicating the need for code switching. We are targeting imposter syndrome. We are forcing people to truly be themselves and to truly be comfortable with asking questions, with saying what they need, and making that common, practice. So that's what I think going deeper is.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. This is not about lowering standards to meet people with what they want to do. It's about finding out what's keeping people from meeting the standards and what's keeping them not just from meeting standards but exceeding them and really achieving them.
Right.
Because sometimes the answer is, "Hey, why didn't you do that?" And the answer comes back, "I just didn't want to." And then that's a problem someone at HR has to deal with, right? But a lot of times, probably 9 times out of 10, there's something more going on.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And we never get that far because we make decisions on the surface level behavior.
I also want to spend a little time on self-efficacy because I think people might not really understand what that is. And you go into it much more deeply in the book. What does it really mean to have self-efficacy? And how do we achieve that as leaders?
I think that most people think leadership is about a title or position. I think leadership is the desire, the inspiration to impact others, to make change, to make a positive impact on the people around you, on the business, the client, the work, whatever it is. And I think sometimes we let noise stop us. Maybe we don't have the right title, we're not in the right room, or we don't have the right team, or people are not going to accept my voice. Things like that stop us. And I think that as leaders, as just individuals, that the way to combat that is just do one thing. Try to change one person's day. try to implement one initiative. Try to have one conversation. And the more you have those, the more you will build up your confidence and like, wow, this worked. That's how it worked for me. Like, I was hesitant to share my voice, share my ideas, break out of my comfort zone. I code switched a lot, but slowly, you started to see Michelle come out as the more I won, a battle, or I helped a person, or I saved a career, or the more I did it, the more I got confident in it, and the more I saw how much of a bigger impact and a bigger legacy that I was leaving.
Yeah, that's great advice, because we're real firm believers here that leadership is it's a discipline and a study, and it's something you have to practice every day. And when I look back over my career, those were things I had to practice them. I had to find courage. I had to take those small steps to get to the point where I could take bigger steps. So I think that's great advice. I think it's a great place for a break, because I want to play a game with you. Are you up for a game?
Yes.
All right. The name of this game is Rapid Response. I'm going to ask you a
Okay.
series of questions. I want you to respond with the first thing that comes to mind. Now, don't be fooled by the word rapid. You're not really on the clock. We're not looking for one-word answers. Elaborate as much or as little as you'd like to. We just want to get to know Michelle a little better, okay?
Yep.
All right. Michelle Edwards, rapid response round. Your time begins now. A podcast recommendation.
Leader's mindset. Can I say that?
You can, but I'm going to ask you for another one, because while that is very flattering, I asked this question because I want to get more podcasts for my feed.
Yeah, I listened to this one called Transform and Thrive by my friend Jessalyn Lamb.
It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
What is a practice you'd like to see more people embrace?
So have you ever heard of CTFAR? It is a tool. It's a self-coaching tool, created by a life coach. I think her name was Brooke Castile, something like that. But I live by it. C is for circumstances, T is for thoughts, F is for feelings, A is for action, R is for results. So the point is, your circumstances exist. You have thoughts about your circumstances that creates the feelings that you have, which drives your actions, which causes your results. The challenge is being able to separate circumstances from thoughts, right? Because sometimes we think our thoughts are the circumstances. They are just our thoughts about it. And we have the power to change our thoughts. Change your thoughts, change your life, change your results. So I always run through the model whenever I'm challenged. I have a challenge. I run through the model. Is this my thoughts? And what is a better thought that can serve me better? So.
Yeah, that is new to me, but I'll check it out. Everyone should check it out, it sounds like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a good coaching tool.
Who is someone we should all be paying attention to?
I love Adam Grant. I don't know. Have you heard of Adam Grant? I love him.
Oh, I love Adam Grant. We have quoted some of his work on this podcast and some of the other work we do. Fantastic, and honestly, fantastic interviewer. Mm-hmm. And I would love to have him on this show. So, Adam, if you're listening, paying attention, let's connect.
Yes.
What is either your get pumped up song or your walk on music?
Well, right now it's Empire State of Mind with Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. We've had quite a summer here in New York, and it has been the song that's been on repeat throughout the win of the Knicks. So that is my song for now.
Yeah, that is a fantastic song. We just had in Las Vegas, the touring company of Alicia Keys' Hell's Kitchen came through town a few weeks ago. And if you know the show, spoiler alert, that's the song the show closes on. And it's super powerful scene at the end of the show, super powerful song. I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
The biggest influence in your life?
I have to say my father. I really quote him a lot, so I have to say it's him. Just watching him growing up made me feel like I wanted to be like him, and I was inspired by him.
Outstanding. Besides yours, and we're going to talk about yours again in a little bit, what is a book everyone should read?
The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but
Yep,
it's
great one.
basically it's around the same idea, the same premise to me as the CTFAR. It's like you can control your own thoughts, and your thoughts are the root of all suffering. Being in the now helps you kind of stop being in the past. The past creates a lot of suffering, and being in the future creates a lot of anxiety. So really embracing now.
All right. Your favorite recreational activity?
It used to be watching my son play basketball. Like that was literally the best time of my life. That was my most favorite thing to ever do. And it was crazy because we had to travel all over the place. We were always going to practice and this and that, but it was so much fun. He has since stopped playing ball. He's grown, and now I guess it's just watching the Knicks play.
Well, the Knicks gave us all a lot to watch a few weeks ago.
Yes,
It was
yes.
pretty exciting, and
Very.
I'm not even a huge basketball fan. So, your dream vacation spot?
Japan.
Good one. A trend you're excited about?
Well, I don't really like the trends that are happening, but AI, you can't ignore that. Like AI is coming, no matter what your beliefs on it are, whether you like it or not, so you better embrace it. But I think, the more we implement AI into our workplaces, into our everyday life, the more important it's going to be for human leadership. I think human leadership is going to always be needed. AI cannot take over the human, capability.
I agree. I think AI has a lot of potential to let us be more human because AI can do a lot of the repetitive, time-consuming tasks that keep us from really focusing on being in the present and really focusing on not what are we going to do or what are we doing, but what should we be doing. I think AI, as long as we use it as a tool, mm-hmm. and we use it to enhance our humanity, I think I'm an optimist about it. There are downsides as well. We're going to get through all that, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Your favorite sports team or player?
Well, I think I already told you the Knicks. I've been a Knicks fan throughout their whole losing streak. So this is the first time they've won a championship in my lifetime. And my favorite player is Carmelo Anthony.
Well, that's great. I know how you feel. I am a Red Sox fan, and we went through a long stretch where we didn't have a lot of. We had success, but not World Series wins, and then we've done okay. It's been a weird year for the Sox, but I know where you're coming from. Yeah. Thanks for playing our game. It's nice to get to know you a little bit in a way that the other questions might not get there. Getting back to it, what is the myth of meritocracy, and how as leaders can we keep from falling into that trap?
Okay, well, listen, I want to start by saying I believe in meritocracy. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it is very rarely realized in workplaces because businesses are being run by humans with a lot of blind spots, humans with biases, humans, making decisions that seem merit-based, but sometimes it's really just familiarity, behaviors that they're familiar with, people that remind them of themselves, people who demonstrate how it's always been done. And so I think that true meritocracy only happens if we challenge our beliefs, challenge our biases, embrace difference, because I think we uncover talent in places where we never really looked.
It sounds like meritocracy, much like leadership itself, is something we need to strive for every day, not something we can honestly say we've achieved.
Right. Yes.
That's
It
great.
takes a lot of work.
So now I really want to dive into the meat of the book. And most of the book is your commandments of leadership. So tell us about your commandments of leadership. You don't need to list them all, but tell us what some of them are, and tell us how you came up with this framework.
So I definitely came up with the framework by living it. Living the challenges, seeing issues in the workplace that really tied back to leadership and leaders and leader behavior. And so I put together the 10 commandments, and I tried to cover all bases in these 10 commandments. The most important commandment ties back to leadership, and it's fire leaders who refuse to lead. That, to me, I think that is the most important one out of all of them, because that is probably the one that's harder to do, but it's probably the one that is the single most important one to do. And, sometimes we have leaders who, have been at the company for a really long time. They have a really long tenure, or they, brought in some client. They have a relationship with the client, but they can go on creating toxicity in the workplace. So we sweep it under the rug. And I think that's the biggest mistake companies make. So if your leaders are not leading well, you cannot uncover the talent in your organization that way, which means you cannot realize your goals fully. Like, you'll do well. Most companies are doing okay, but why not do better? Why not, uncover new talents and new innovation and take it a step further? Why leave capability on the table? So I think that one is most important. The second one I think is most important is the data one. Data doesn't lie. A lot of people see data and, they see it holistically. I created a database that I wanted to see the employee journey from start to finish. I wanted to uncover patterns that no one really uncovered. So I created this data intelligence system that helped me it drove what I did on a day-to-day basis. It drove where I looked, who needed to be checked in on, who needed to be challenged, what manager needed support. It's all in the data. If you look at the data in a way that predicts future behaviors rather than, just looking at it as what happened and analyzing the past, you can intervene, you can interrupt, you can change course by studying the data in a certain way. So I think those 2 commandments are most important. There are 10 of them. The first one is self-reflection. So you really have to stop looking elsewhere about, being a leader, and look within and really take a hard look at, your own decisions and your own outcomes and how you can really change it, and have to be doing that regularly on a daily basis. The other one I think is good to bring up is unlearn the bullshit. So that's where I list all the cookie cutter approaches that a lot of companies turn to. Just unlearn it all and go back to the basics. Leaders, there are 10 of them. They all are important, but I think the fire leaders who refuse to lead is the foundation of all of them.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier of, as a senior leader, you're going to say, go do this, and you're going to assume people are going to do it. And you got to go follow that feedback loop, right? And if you find somewhere, whatever the initiative is, whatever the change is, whatever the whatever it is, if it's getting hung up somewhere, and that's a leader somewhere in the chain, and that leader says, I'm not doing it because I don't have time, or I don't like it, or it's not going to work, or whatever their reason is, that first there has to be a conversation with this leader of, all right, well, this is important to me, so I don't have time isn't going to cut it.
Right.
If you really don't think it's going to work, we've got a conversation about that. Right. And if you just don't like it, well, we can still be friends. You just can't work here anymore, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. And maybe they can still work here, but just not be in care of another human there.
And that's a really great point, is sometimes people aren't ready to be leaders, right?
Right.
And if we want to keep them around, we still have to develop them for the future, but maybe they're not ready today.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so you mentioned one of the things that really frustrates you is cookie cutter approaches. And I know from my own experience, I know from the folks I work with, sometimes a leader comes up with something that's a cookie cutter approach, but they think is actually like a novel solution. So let's what are some of the common cookie cutter approaches you see, so we can all get educated on, oh, this is what everybody tries, and what's a better approach?
Yeah, I think the main one is that when we're talking about investing in leaders, they send leaders to one training. That's like going to the gym one time and expect to be ripped. Like, it needs to be this constant conversation. It needs to be something that you're striving for on a day-to-day. It needs to be common conversations every day. It needs to be something that you're partnering with your managers on every single day. You need to be able to find out how effective they are on a regular basis, so that you can interject or provide support in certain areas. Like, it needs to be something that's always on your radar.
Absolutely. We hear a lot about accountabilities these days. Everyone's talking about there needs to be accountability. We're going to hold people accountable. I'm not sure people really understand what accountability means. What does it really mean to hold our managers truly accountable, and how do we do that?
Yeah, I think accountability is a weird title, because I think people think it's punitive. I remember when I pitched the idea of manager accountability, and companies across our industry was like shying away from it. Like, no, we can't do that right now. And I think it was because the word accountability could be scary or off-putting, because it seems like you're punishing someone for something, but it's really ownership. How I was able to hold my managers accountable. My managers to this day thank me for changing their lives, for helping them be a good leader. They never felt like they were being punished. I was just holding them to a bar, and I was challenging them to be better. And it started with first setting those clear expectations. We created a manager manifesto, which was clear. It was 8 sentences long, but everything we did tied back to that. And we then gave managers the tools, the support, the resources, how to have good conversations, how to thank people, what are we looking out for, how to teach people, how to help them learn, how to reward them, like all of those things, giving them the tools. You can't just tell them, okay, you have to go be a good leader, now go ahead and do it. We were in lockstep with them, supporting them on a day-to-day, being their partner every day. And then also, like, holding them accountable meant we were tracking the outcomes. How was your person seeing you? Did they feel safe with you? Did they feel like they had a voice? Did they feel like you were in their corner? But also, are they doing well? Are they performing well? Have you been able to make sure they are doing good work? Have you held the bar for them? Like all of that goes into manager accountability. It's a whole like ecosystem that I created to make it a little bit easier, because I know I was asking a lot of managers. When you become a manager, sometimes your craft job has to take a little bit of a side, a side job, and your main job becomes developing people and managing people and leading people and inspiring people and influencing people. So it was a lot that I was asking them for, but I didn't just tell them and let them figure it out. I was with them every step of the way. So that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people confuse accountability with consequences.
Right.
And what accountability really looks like is someone raising their hand and saying, "I've got this."
Yes.
But to do
Yes.
that, as you described very well, as their leaders, we need to set them up for success, and that needs to be our primary job.
Mhm.
Not making sure that the weekly report gets in on time. That's important. But
Yes.
if we set our team up for success and we set ourselves up for success, that weekly report will get in on time.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. You got it.
We've talked a lot about what this looks like when we're doing it right. But I want to go back. I want to pull on the thread a little bit of sometimes you need to fire a leader. And that's hard for leaders because we want to give people a chance. There's also inertia. We've talked about how much it costs to replace somebody. What are some of the signs of a failing leader we should be looking for so we know we need to take some kind of corrective action?
Yeah. So a failing leader is not always the most obvious. They could be the most charismatic, professional person in the room. Like I said, the one with the client ties and, the long tenure. But you got to see what type of impact are they making around them. One thing I've always said, and my managers could probably quote me on this: we do not hold people accountable for expectations we never set. A failing leader does not set expectations, but holds people accountable for them, expects them to read their mind. A failing leader doesn't give feedback. They don't take feedback either on how well they're leading. They haven't created an environment where people even felt safe to tell them, how they're feeling about their leadership or about how things are going. It shows up in turnover and burnout. All of those things shows up, and that's how we're able to, track how well our leaders are doing, how well their people are doing, and how their people are feeling supported.
Yeah, I want to underline a point you made at the very top of that, which was the unspoken expectations, the undeclared expectations. Our good friend Jordan Harbinger, that's another great podcast, by the way, is Jordan Harbinger's show. Our good friend Jordan Harbinger used to talk about it in terms of covert contracts. You can't have covert contracts with people. It doesn't work, right? If there's an expectation and it's not spoken, there's no way anyone could ever possibly meet it, right? And that was something that really impacted me on my journey of, okay, if I have an expectation, I really need to, ideally clearly communicate it, but at least communicate it in the first place so we can have a conversation.
Yep. Most important thing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We talked a little bit about AI. How are you implementing AI or any other technology in your work?
So I had talked about this like people intelligence center that I created. I created it years before AI. And so it was a very, very manual process because I ended up putting a lot of like people data systems together into one because we had a whole bunch of things that didn't talk to each other, right? We had a HRRS, we had a performance management system, we had a time off system, we had a learning L&D system, like all of it separate on their own standalone thing. So I had to bring it all together, and I did it manually. It started on Excel, and then eventually made a platform. But AI makes that much easier. Things that would take days and weeks and months could take minutes now with AI. So using AI for data is really good. Using it as an assistant as well is really good. But like I said earlier, I think the more we use AI and the more we implement it, the more human leadership is needed and valued.
Yeah, it's you've just described some great use cases for AI. My favorite one recently is as I've created more and more AI agents to run things for me, is that like the big thing I'm doing now is like, oh, you're able to go pull data, analyze data, and come up with conclusions. In addition to just telling me the conclusions, can you feed those conclusions into this other task so that that task can update its own instructions based on what we're learning from the data? And the AI models are getting very, very good at that.
Yeah. So it's only going to get better. So you have to embrace it.
Yeah. If you're doing something manually and you're tired of doing it, I would say invest the $20 into some AI model. Try that for a month and see if it can start to streamline what you're doing. Just ask it if it can, and then it's going to have like a million questions for you.
Right.
Those questions, and the answer is probably going to be, yeah, I can do most of that, and probably not all of it, but I can do most for you. All right, what's coming up for you in the next few months?
Well, I want to keep having the manager conversation. I want to create a movement on how we help leaders lead well. How do we change the experience of our people in our organization by changing how they're led? So I'm going to do more of these podcasts and more of these opportunities to speak. I'm working on an audio book right now. And, soon after, I'm going to start a workbook for a companion kind of to help people kind of play out some of the things in the book. So, yeah, that's what I want to do.
It sounds great. Is there any other advice you'd like to leave our young emerging leaders or entrepreneurs out there, or another nugget from the book you want to share with us?
I feel like what is happening for me right now, which I am learning from, is that, one day someone else will have your title, right? One day someone else will have your office, someone else will have your parking spot. Someone else may even have your business. But the one thing that you carry with you is the impact you've made on people, on their lives. And that is a legacy worth leaving. So my advice is to make that your life's work.
I love it. Leave it better than you found it. All right. Well, you can see the book behind Michelle when we cut back to her. I want to thank you for joining us today, Michelle. Where can everyone find you? Where can they find the book? How can they reach out to you? And thank you for joining us today.
Yes, so the book is on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Nobles, Ingram Sparks, wherever you get your books. Just look for it, DEI Died, Leadership Lives. I have a website called MichelleEdwardsSpeaks.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle K. Edwards, and on Instagram, Michelle Edwards Speaks.
All right. Well, we will link all of that up in the episode description so you don't have to go look for that. Thank you again for joining us today, Michelle. I want to thank all of you for watching and listening, however you're getting this information. If you found this conversation valuable, go ahead and share it with someone who can use it. Leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. And since I'm asking everybody for favors, go ahead and give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform. It'll help build our audience and get this conversation with Michelle and all the other great ones we have coming up out to more and more people. So go out there, do great things today, onward and upward. One last thing before you go, like I mentioned at the top, Inform.now is the news by text I use every single day. The link's in the description if you want it. We'll see you next time, onward and upward.